So let's get back to world shenanigans, and we haven't spoken about Donald Trump for a while. Maybe it was due, after, especially after last week talking about X and Elon Musk's antics. We had to kind of revisit the wheel, and I've kind of held off on this. I deliberately didn't want to speak about Trump as often as what we used to during the heyday when he was in office, but it was probably time to revisit it only because the fourth of the expected indictments finally came down. The state one in Georgia about the election interference. So now the ones that all the indictments that everyone was predicting he was going to receive have now actually come to pass, which would seem to me to indicate this is going to be a crazy 18 months of, well, I guess it's less than 18 months now in this current election cycle. And we're going to be in for a wild ride watching US politics from afar, I would say.
Oh well, yes. I think when we were talking about Trump a lot, we got to the stage where we were saying quite frequently we didn't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, obviously the charges are serious. Obviously they're real. Um, but he's a very he's a very Teflon coated kind of guy, and nothing seems to stop him. In fact, as we've seen probably over the last 8 years or longer, he takes this stuff in his stride, and he in fact uses it to empower himself. And so these sorts of charges seem to enable him to run as a more effective candidate. It's counterintuitive, as you said. It's crazy, and it's almost impossible to predict where or how this will go.
And the funny thing is that any one of these individual like charges would have taken down any other candidate. Yeah, he's still standing. And ironically, what you were just saying, just to speak to that, there's potential that three of the indictments he might be able to test the limit of what's possible in terms of what he can get away with. There's a lot of evidence, etc., on the two cases related to the election interference. There's the hush money case, which is a separate thing, but the one that he might be in the most easiest danger of something actually like a negative result for him is the documents case, only because it's so straightforward. And it just makes me wonder the implications of what all of that is, because he's really ramping it up to try and sort of take it from a political angle and try and beat the indictments politically, which, if were to come to pass, that's going to strike right at the core of what the US is about, I would have thought.
Absolutely. I mean, notionally, it's a very serious offence. I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed closely enough to know if they've actually released exactly what those documents were. I know they've alluded to what they are, but I mean, who takes documents like that home? I mean, it's crazy. So there's got to be more to this than meets the eye, and I'm sure somebody somewhere has joined the dots, and this could open up, and if they do actually release the full details and what the intent or the reason for holding those files were, I think we're going to see some very serious charges.
Absolutely. Well, we'll watch that play out. Maybe we don't come back to it until next year because I think we reached that point where Trump was just exhausting by the end of our coverage, just like everyone else was exhausted by it. But I think it's still, this particular story has a significance and could have some historical ramifications depending on what happens, and it most likely will be talked about for some time, depending on which way it goes.
Yeah, no question of that.